Welcome to George Mason High School's Personalized Learning Orientation. My name is Matt Hills. I'm the principal here at George Mason High School. This is my fourth year here, first year as principal, and I am very excited to be leading your children. One of the things we really want to focus on throughout the next couple years is how do we make sure that we are transforming learning? And what does that look like? Our focus for personalized learning and our personalized learning initiative is to make sure that we're enhancing learning in the classroom. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. We want to make sure that we are preparing our students, not only for the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, but for college and beyond. We want to make sure that we're preparing our students so they have the 21st century skills in order to be successful in the workplace. And lastly, we want to create an environment of equity. This is where we level the playing field, creating opportunities for all students to be successful. A couple of years ago, we asked several of our teachers to come up with a mission statement. We asked them what was important in being a Mustang. And we talked about the idea of excelling in mind, body, and character. And when we talk about excelling in mind, we want to focus on going beyond the classroom. It's not just getting A's in different subjects, which is very important, of course, but more importantly, it's outside of the classroom. What are we doing to create a healthy balance, a healthy mind? We're going to be talking a little bit about that tonight, as well as my colleague, Mr. Knight, who's going to touch on disconnecting from the laptop and from the device. We also talked about making sure that we are excelling in body. Creating a well-rounded student is very, very important to us. One of the things we pride ourselves on here at George Mason is providing every opportunity for students to be successful. And we have a variety of clubs, over 100 clubs, and we ask students that, look, if you have something that you would like to do, all that we ask is that you go ahead, you have a classmate who shares the same interest, and a sponsor. And you can go ahead and really do anything that you want. And that kind of is instilled in our student body. And so we believe that several of the opportunities that we provide through technology, through our laptops, and through different classroom experiences are creating that well-rounded student. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And then lastly is character. We want our students to become students who are able to achieve at really any level. And whether it's an IB class that they're taking, whether it's on the athletic field, whether it's doing morning announcements, whatever it may be, we want our students to really be successful, and we want them to embody the idea of one who is accepting of others, one who understands what it means to be a Mustang. And so this year we're going to be focusing a lot on character and what that means. When we talk about character, one of the things that I mention often in the spirit of recently watching the Olympics is not just celebrating our students or the Olympic athletes for their success or for the minute that they were running the race, but more importantly, what did they do the 4 years leading up to that when no one was looking? That's what we think about when we consider character and building strong character in our Mustangs. Our focus this year as administrators, as teachers, is we want to empower our students. We want to empower our students to take ownership of their learning. Our feeling is the Personalized Learning Initiative allows our students to do that. We want to engage our students. We want our students engaged in authentic learning experiences. We're going to show you this evening a little bit about what that looks like in the classroom. And lastly, we want to enrich their learning experience. So yes, we're talking about rigor in the classroom, differentiation, but the classroom does not look like what it once looked like when you and I went to school. It is not the teacher standing up in front of the classroom and lecturing. There's more to it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the differences of what it looked like back then and what our students are experiencing now and what an enriched classroom really looks like. So high school of the 1980s. High school of the 1980s, you had the teacher who stood up in front of the classroom. They had certain expectations. If the students didn't meet those expectations, many of them did not do so well in the class. If you can envision a classroom, you have many students that may be sleeping, some are not engaged, and it was not the job of the teacher to ensure that these students were being successful. The onus was really on the students, and I think ultimately we were not setting our students up for success with the style of the classroom in the 1980s. When we take a look at college in the 1980s, I think about this imposing male or female professor who is the knower of all, the person who comes in and preaches about whatever that particular content is. Students are not engaged in the way that they are today. They're not given an opportunity to collaborate with the professor. They're not working in groups. They're not given the opportunity to ask questions. This is something that we encourage our students to do, and times are changing. How about the workplace of the 1980s? You know, when I talk about that, I often envision your cubicle-style offices where you have a young lady or a young gentleman working on a list of tasks that they have been given for a particular day, whether it's from the boss or CEO or whatever they're doing, and they're completing those tasks. They're not collaborating with others. They're not reaching out to find solutions. It's very independent-based. And then once we move on into the late 80s and 90s, we recognize that, oh my goodness, if we actually come together, we can come up with some more effective solutions, and collaboration is needed. But what we notice in the workplace is it's not effective collaboration because we have not trained our workers. And that's something we need to commit to, and we are doing so in today's classroom. Technology of the 1980s. I think about my first Walkman. It sounds like such a minuscule part of my life, but during that time, I remember how it felt to all of a sudden be able to walk around, to mobily listen to music wherever I was, to put my cassette tape in. It sounds funny saying it out loud, but it's changing the world we live in. And we are creating opportunities. We are responsible for making sure that our students are prepared to build these technologies, to use these new technologies. And when we think about our children today and our students that we work with, they don't even know a world that doesn't exist without Apple, without iPads, without iPods. So we are charged with a very difficult task of ensuring that they are moving forward into the next technology, technologies that aren't going to exist in the next 10 years. We have all different types of technologies that have created an environment that we can live in today that makes the world more accessible, whether it's using our iPhone, using apps. We recently heard of a story where a young lady who spent 20 years of her life having to check her blood sugar levels by the traditional way of poking herself and having to maintain a particular blood sugar level so that she wouldn't faint. She was given a contact lens, and through her contact lens she was actually able to read her blood sugar levels. These are some of the designs that have been happening over the last few years, where one day we want our students to create something like that. There's another image that we often show our students about a current day drone that actually serves as a defibrillator that will allow a gentleman who just had a heart attack to be resuscitated after about 90 seconds. The wait time was 90 seconds that individual had to wait in order to receive some kind of help. The EMT didn't get to him until about 8 minutes. Another form of technology that's changing the way we live. I think about the idea of making sure that our students are prepared to design, what that looks like. Many parents have come up to me and said, "Mr. Hills, we're very concerned. My students, you're now giving them a laptop. This is a tool that, yes, can be used for wonderful things, but it's also a tool that's very enticing. And my child is going to be playing video games 24/7. Well, that's something we preach often. We talk about the idea of a balance. I mentioned it early. Mr. Knight's going to talk about it. I think about a world where students are not just playing the video games, but actually designing the games. We have classes currently in our building that we offer where students can do those things. And they now have the device that allows them to be successful successful. So one of the things we talk about is making sure that we're preparing our students for jobs that do not currently exist. Yes, it may sound like a cliche statement, but what I will tell you is it means something. It's important. When I met with Mr. Knight, we sat down, we talked about the jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago. What did those look like? Something like an app designer. Yes, I talked earlier about the apps that are designed to make our lives easier. 5 years ago, people didn't even know that that existed. Now people are making great money to design apps and make other lives easier. That's something we want to prepare our students for. How about something like interactive web design? Something that never existed. And one of the things we ended up doing, Mr. Knight and I, we went to monster.com. We started looking through some of the current jobs and we saw cybersecurity. What does cybersecurity mean? A term that probably didn't exist about 5 years ago. And now there are tons of jobs out there that exist. Mr. Knight does an excellent job of running our cyber patriots, our defenders, our protectors, to make sure that students and other folks are not hacking into our systems. But this is something that companies out there, CEOs, large corporations are looking for, and we want to prepare our students to be ready to do certain things like that. The workplace of today. Can you think of a particular job out there where there is not technology being used? Whether it's a police officer, a truck driver, you name it. All types of businesses are using forms of technology. Our students need to be prepared. They need to understand the expectations of the workplace today, and we believe we're doing so through our personalized learning initiative. College today. We're preparing our students to ensure that they are ready to be able to use a laptop, to be able to use Google Apps and Chrome and all these wonderful ways for our students to be successful. That's what we want to make sure that we're doing. The classroom of today. It looks very different than it did. If you walk around George Mason, which I'm lucky enough and privileged to do on a daily basis, you notice teachers that are interacting with students. There is a sense of collaboration where students are asked to complete different projects. They're working using the laptops in a way that's innovative. These authentic learning experiences that would not have been given to these students without the use of our Air Max. When we talk about the idea of enhancing learning, a specific example of that, we had a biology class. They were very frustrated that their particular textbook, they couldn't understand why the author didn't include certain pertinent information. And instead of the teacher giving a response and speaking for the author, the teacher had reached out to the author. They set up actually a Skype session. This Skype session went on for about 90 minutes. Students were asked to prepare questions, and firsthand they were able to receive the information of why the author didn't include some of the information. That's 21st century learning, and that's what it looks like. When you talk about the idea of preparing our students, okay? When students are working on our laptops, they have a way to present information, a way to research information. We're preparing our students differently than we did back in the 1980s, as I mentioned earlier. And then lastly is equalizing, making sure that we're leveling the playing field to ensure that all students are successful in all walks of life. One of the questions many of our parents ask me, they say, Mr. Hills, so is there a minimum requirement that our teachers need to use laptops in a class? Mr. Knight's going to discuss that a little bit, but what I will say is that there is not. The great thing about George Mason is we give teachers the professional autonomy to determine what's appropriate in their particular class. What I will tell you is that your child will experience a different setup in his math class than he would in his English class and some of the elective classes. We use technology for authentic learning experiences. We're not going to use technology for the sake of using technology, and that's an important message that we stand by here at George Mason. I'm now going to introduce Mr. Knight, our Instructional Technology Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Steve Knight. I'm the Coordinator of Digital Learning here for Falls Church City Schools, and I also am the Instructional Technology Coordinator at George Mason High School. I have the privilege of giving you some advice and giving you the responsibilities that you'll need to follow when you get your George Mason issued device. The first thing is this is your new being prepared for class. You need to bring a charged device every day to school. So think about what your routine is. Where are you charging overnight? How do you know that it's ready for the next school day. It's so important that I put it on a second slide because it is your responsibility to be prepared for class every day. And being prepared means that your device is ready and fully charged. It's the new being prepared. When I was in high school, if I didn't have a pencil, I wasn't prepared. Well, now your device must be charged for you to be ready. Now, a second practice we want you to try your best to follow is to leave your computer charger at home, somewhere safe, locked away. Parents, my best advice to you is once your child gets their GM-issued device is to keep the charger somewhere locked away and secure. Your children will have to charge the device every once in a while, every night. So if you have it locked in the kitchen or in the dining room, then you're forcing your child to charge the device there. That way, both of you will know that it's ready for the next school day. Now, students, you may recognize that your device will not last the entire day. If you have a class at block 6 or 7, and you know you're going to be using your computer every day, you have kind of two choices. One, you can charge it during your lunchtime. We have charging stations in the cafeteria. Or second, you can bring your charger and make sure that you never forget it or leave it in class. Now, parents, it's very important to come up with some type of routine on how this new member of your family is going to be handled in your home. I've worked with many parents that have struggled with this device going home, and now this is maybe some of your children's first device that they have all the time. You want to come up with a routine on where your children can use the device, where it's going to be charged and stored, and I can work with you to help you with that routine and give you some more advice on what we can do for parent controls. Now, students, it's very important to figure out ways of backing up all your information. There will be times when we have to troubleshoot your device. One of the best features of the Personalized Learning Initiative is you get free technical support at any time. And some of that technical support means that we might have to re-image your computer. Re-image means that we completely erase the computer and restore it to the way we gave it to you in the first time. Now that means that if you haven't backed up any of your data, any of your schoolwork, it will be gone. So try to use Google Drive as much as you can, or if you're in the digital art classes or video production classes, you may want a flash drive to keep your work. Now, it's always important to understand where your personal data is being saved. You're old enough, high schoolers, to understand that you don't give out personal information over the web. You don't post anything that you don't want your parents to see because it's all out there. But now it's really important to understand that your GM-issued device, even though you can connect it anywhere on the web, you have to understand that not every Wi-Fi connection is secure. For example, if you take your device to Panera or Starbucks, you're not connecting to a secure device, a secure Wi-Fi. So you want to make sure that you are protecting your information and you're not doing anything over an unsecure Wi-Fi. Here at school and at home, you should be fine. Now, we really practice the word balance at George Mason. We want you to understand that you are not going to be using this device for the entire day. You must be balanced. There are times where you have to be disconnected. Your teachers have the autonomy to use these devices anytime they want and for as much as they want. And sometimes you may go into class and use it for 10 minutes for the entire 90-minute block. We need you to understand that you are not going to be using this device the entire time. When you're at lunch, perfect time to disconnect and be balanced and be healthy. Parents, we need your help. Because this device is going home, we can ensure that your child will be practicing balance here at George Mason. We need your help to make sure they're balanced at home. That you'll have a routine that's going to help them, encourage them to disconnect and get the sleep they need. The Falls Church City Public Schools covers the insurance on these devices. It covers any damage, loss, or theft, and it's only a $25 fee for each incident. The $25 fee is just really for the clerical work of boxing it up and sending it to the insurance company. The charger is also covered under insurance. So if a charger is lost or broken, we would charge you the same $25 fee. Your device is being filtered on the internet when you're here at school. We have a very rigorous filtering system that will make sure your children are safe from inappropriate websites or sites that may distract from their learning. When this device goes to your household and you connect to your own wireless internet, it will also be protected by the same security, the same filtering system. And as I mentioned before, it's very rigorous, and we are blocking sites all the time that might be unsafe. Now, parents, if you want another level of filtering, for example, in our schools, our social networking is open. So Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube are open to our students. But if your children need another break, we have another option for you. And that is an internet filtering program called K9. You can take control of the internet filtering, and you can decide on what sites you want filtered. For example, if your child needs a break from Facebook, we can install K9, and your child will not only have a break from Facebook at home, but they'll also have that break at school. All you have to do is arrange a meeting with me, and we can talk about what you would like filtered. I'll give you some advice on how to work on this program, and we'll install it on your George Mason issued device. We also have another option of control for you. If your child is having a hard time disconnecting at night, we can set time limits. So if you want your child to make sure they're in bed or away from the computer at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. at night, we can set time limits so the computer logs itself out at that hour. And we can set a wake time so then you know that your child can access the computer maybe at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. It's up to you. All you have to do is contact me, and we can make those settings happen. I'm very proud to talk about our second year, now into our third year, of our student-led help desk. Your students will have the ability to go to near the main gym in the concession stand we converted into the Genius Bar or the student tech space. Every block of the day, every day, there's a student there that is ready to help your children. And they are also there to help our teachers. This is not the only tech support your children get. You also can submit online forms through the Personalized Learning website, or send me an email from either 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. for online support at night and on the weekends. Now, there is a lot of other topics for the Personalized Learning Initiative that Matt and I did not cover. You can go to our Falls Church fccps.org website and click on the little icon that says Personalized Learning Network. On there, we created a website that answered many of the questions the community have asked over the last 3 years. All you have to do is click on the support or any of the tabs on below, and you'll get information that you may still have questions about. For example, why do we go Mac? The answer is there. What do we do about insurance, or where are we getting insurance? The information is there. So a lot of the questions you still may have, you find on the website. If there is a question that hasn't been answered, you can find the tab that says Contact Us, and there'll be an email form for you. All you have to do is submit your question to us, and you'll get your answer. We are extremely proud of the Personalized Learning Initiative here at George Mason High School. We love to see students connected. We love to see students balanced with their connections. And we love to see their creativity and collaboration being enhanced by these devices. Please reach out to Matt or myself if you have any questions about this initiative. Thanks.